Bill and Tom Heffernan, you own Master Chimney Sweepers in Eastern and Central Massachusetts. You were a father-son duo. Bill, you started the company. Tom, you are now sales director. I am so happy to welcome you back to Toolbox for the Trades, which I will talk about in just a moment. But before we do that, please say hello to our incredible listeners.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Heffernan, founder since 1977.
And I'm Tom Heffernan, son of Bill and sales director here.
Amazing. And I just have to
And also Lydia is missing. So she's
Lydia is missing.
Also a key representative, but she's missing. So.
And Lydia is the general manager, and she's also your daughter, right?
What did we decide to give her? Her title was...
or customer relations, was it?
Yeah, customer relations manager.
Yeah, perfect.
Customer relations manager.
That's what
you got
is.
it. Yeah,
we don't have a lot of. Sorry, I did it. We don't have a lot of managers. A lot of titles. A lot of titles.
I know that's actually one of the first things you told me when we first got to know each other. And I have to let the audience know, I am just so happy. We did a recording with Bill and Tom a few weeks ago. It was an amazing interview and the audio just sucked. And they have graciously agreed to come back, record a brand new interview for you. So guys, thank you again for your time. I'm really excited to get back into this interview and rock and roll and learn a little bit more about your story. But before we do, I have to ask both of you an icebreaker. If you could pick up a new skill in an instant, what would it be and why? Tom, maybe you can go first.
Oh my gosh. That is a...
You know what's funny about this is I asked you this icebreaker already.
Oh, you did? You're right. Oh my God.
I did. And you're like, what skill?
I'm sure I gave a great answer.
I'm sure you did.
I would say... I would say a skill that I would like to pick up instantly would be. Do you have something off the top of your head?
I really like music, and I really regret that I never played an instrument. I love the piano. I love listening to it. I love guitar. And I'd love to. I hope I do at some point pick one of those instruments up and dabble with that. So. Yeah.
Very cool.
I guess I don't really know if this qualifies as a skill, but I'm starting to get into cooking. And I think if I could go back and start that a little bit earlier on in my life, that I could go. I'd love to go back and do that because I love tasting good food and cooking good food, and it doesn't always come out that good when I do cook it. But I would love to improve on that skill if I could.
I love both of those answers. I too have regretted never picking up an instrument, Bill, but not for lack of trying. It just isn't in me. But if I could do both of those skills as well, I would give that. I'll also say a popular thing I've been thinking about is picking up another language like Spanish or drawing too. I think I would really love to be able to be a good drawer. But anyway, so thank you for participating in the icebreaker. Let's talk about Master Chimney Sweepers. So I would love to know how you got into the trades, Bill, because I think if I recall, the story has something to do with a top hat and maybe a bow tie. So tell us the story. How did Master Chimney Sweepers start?
Yeah, no, it started. So it was interesting. So I graduated college in 1977, and I'd been a college painter. So I was good at working with my hands and good at heights. I really liked it. My dad handed me an article from the local newspaper, the Wellesley Townsman, about this guy that had started this chimney sweep business. And it was fascinating. He was actually a Harvard MBA student, and he had 5 guys working for him. And they wrote this great article. And they said, had to be sure-footed as a billy goat, agile as a gymnast, mechanical as Mr. Wizard, and a confident showman. And you had to supply your own soap. And you also had to supply your own car and your own ladder, which I did have both. But it was, and it was also the energy crisis was happening. There were gas lines. People were putting wood stoves in. I studied economics and English, so supply and demand and all that stuff. Chimney fires were on the increase. It sounded, and these guys were wearing top hat and tails, and it looked like they were having a blast. And so I called them immediately and got hired. It was what I also found out very early on. It was a seasonal business. Everyone calls in the fall to get their chimneys cleaned. And so what happened was there were 5 guys. What happened was work died in January, and nobody knew it would die this quickly and severely. And so the other 4 guys were pretty much the 3 guys. There was one other guy hanging around who was kind of his right hand man. We're pretty much laid off, and go get another job or whatever, and who knows what's going to happen, and we're going to pick up again. But my dad again came into the fold and said, "Bill, why don't you get on the phone and start calling people?" And so I went and picked up a voter's registration, at a particular town, Framingham and Sudbury. I actually looked up everybody's phone number and the neighborhoods that I wanted to call. And I started calling because the voter's registration would give you the streets I wanted to call. And I'd look up their phone numbers and I called them. And then I found out later there was a book like that. So you didn't have to do all that work. You could get that book. So I started calling. Hey, I'm going to be in the neighborhood on Saturday. And I can I'm doing free chimney inspections. Want me to come by and check your chimney? And it was like, bingo. I was a hit right away. I was like, wow, I called my dad. I'm so excited. I got 4 jobs for Saturday. And so that got me going. It was very exciting. I really liked the business. I liked the whole thing about it. I liked the show of having a top hat and tails and walking into McDonald's with your top hat and tails, or showing up at the door with top hat and tails. People loved it. They really did. It was and you got your customers smiling. They were really, you put them in a good place. And so I got kind of carried away there, but so then I turned that into why should I call these neighborhoods? I knew the neighborhoods that the prime neighborhoods that really looked like a little bit more well-to-do. Why don't I get on my bicycle, put my top hat and tails on and a bow tie, and just ride out Saturday morning to their houses and knock on their doors? And that was, really an amazing experience. And I actually ended up doing that for 3 years. And I would do it in the evenings at daylight savings time. But the reaction you would get when you drove up their driveway in your top hat and tails, they weren't quite sure who to expect and who this guy was. And the minute you said you were from Master Chimney Sweepers, they cracked up and they laughed, and immediately they were relaxed. And I said, "I'm doing free inspections. Would you like me to check your chimney?" And they were very welcoming. And so I knocked on thousands of doors over the years, and my friends used to see me driving around, or associates riding my bike around town, and they'd be like, "Wow, what's up with Bill? What happened to him?"
Oh my goodness.
But here I am 47 years later, still excited about every opportunity and every little new development, ServiceTitan being one of them. Is a new
thank
development. Yeah. And so, that's been exciting. So,
That's so interesting.
It kept going. I ended up building a telemarketing, getting an office and filling it with telemarketers. So I eventually got out of the door-to-door, which I always still want to do. But we ended up with big telemarketing offices where we'd have actually 25 telemarketers. And
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty big. So we had 25 cars driving around, and back then we would buy 66 Chevys, paint them black at Mako, throw a ladder on top, pull the back seat out, and put the vacuum where the back seat was. We built a bed there on the back seat, and we have a picture with all these cars lined up, all 25 of them, and it was a nightmare. Let me tell you.
And it was a nightmare. It was a waking nightmare for me. It sounds like you missed your bicycle days.
I would never. We have 10 guys now. It's beautiful, and 25 guys, outrageous, terrible, not bad idea. Don't recommend it to anyone. It's a miracle I made it, but it's a miracle I made a lot of things in my life.
Well, I'm so happy you shared that story because, I was actually thinking while you were talking about that, like I wonder how, if you were to do your top hat and tails riding on the bike in 2023 now, how you would be received.
Yeah, I've really actually wondered about that, and there wasn't that long ago that I really threatened to do it. I threatened to go, and yeah, I don't know. I think you could get away with it. You might get. I mean, the police might show up and say, "What are you doing?" But so, sorry, I didn't register. I got to go register at town. But they didn't. Back then you didn't register, and I you know, it was great. It was awesome. It was very much like being a politician and
Sure.
going around knocking on doors, and it was a great way to build your business. And I was excited about the business. So it was really, I believed in it, and
Yeah.
believed in what we were doing and where it was going. So it was really, and I continue to believe in what we do. And
That's super cool.
yeah.
But it really just goes to show how your business evolved over time. You had at one point 25 guys, this giant telemarketing section of the business, and now you're down to 10. And I have to say, I have folks come on the show all the time who talk about hiring more people, getting bigger, growing, growing, growing. But I also love talking to folks who are like, nope, 10 people, that is great for us. We're super happy with 10. So I want to put a pin on that. And Tom, I want to ask you, you're obviously you grew up watching your dad do Master Chimney Sweepers. When did you decide to get involved?
Um, so I decided to get involved 2 years ago. And growing up, and my dad. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. He was a tremendous father, and I can really say that now that I am a dad. Looking back, and one of the things that I always
Thank
appreciated
you.
was that he was always there. He coached all of our games. He would come home after work every day, and I really valued that and really know how much I appreciated it, or how I may have taken it for granted at the time. I think, but and then just for a little bit of context, so I graduated from college in 2008, in the middle of the financial crisis, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I got a job selling gym memberships, which was pretty much the only job I could find. But it in hindsight a great experience because I it was a very transactional sale, and it was all in person, and it just kind of helped me develop a lot of confidence. I think in sales, and then from there, I did that for a couple of years, and then I ended up moving out to San Francisco with no real plan, and I ended up getting involved in technology and tech sales, and where I learned a lot just about how to kind of structure a sales program and how to run an efficient sales program and how not to run. Also, probably more importantly, how not to run the sales program, and the types of activities that are effective, so on and so forth. And I always got all my friends always, were like, why don't you get involved in the business, And it's like, well, I mean, I kind of want to go out and do my own thing. And and then I was also in California, so that would have been difficult. But anyway, after a couple of years, I moved back locally, and still didn't get involved. I continued in kind of the software sales career, and finally, some personal things transpired, and an opportunity basically presented itself to finally get involved. And the two paths kind of intertwined a little bit, and so my dad and I, and this is over a series of years. We had been talking about this for a long time. This wasn't just like 2 weeks went by and he interviewed me and I got the job. I mean, this was something that we'd always kind of talked about, and then it just kind of came to fruition. And actually, my sister Lydia, who ran a very successful dog walking business in South Boston,
Oh,
that was kind of decimated by COVID.
I'm sure.
She also had a little girl, and she now has two kids. But so she ended up getting involved about a month before I did, and I had reached out to her and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about seriously considering like getting involved in the business." And then she responded back and said, "So am I." And it was like, oh, and it just it is a small company, and so you can't just kind of create a position. So there just happened to be two positions open that fit our skill sets very well. The one that I'm in now, which is really just a telemarketing position, and the only reason, we called me a sales director. I'm just a telemarketer, but I have all this experience to draw on to help to inform our sales strategies a little bit. So that's, I guess, where the director part comes in. I'm not a boss of anyone, but I can help to kind of guide the strategy a little bit. And Lydia is, really the face of the voice of the company. When anyone calls in, she handles all those calls, fields all those calls. But I also went off on a little bit of a tangent there.
No, it's okay.
But
No,
but
it's so okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, finish your thought.
yeah, no. But I've been doing it now for almost exactly 2 years, and that's kind of where I started. And yeah, I mean, it's an incredible business, and really don't think I appreciated the hard work that was put in initially until I went out and kind of started my own career and realized what kind of an opportunity this was to get involved in. So that's
Yeah.
the primary reason, I joined. But and also, of course, carry on the legacy. There's so many great reasons to do it. But yeah.
Of course. I didn't realize that Lydia had her own dog walking company beforehand. That is super cool. Because one of the things that comes up on this podcast a lot is borrowing from other industries. So Lydia
Mhm.
has her dog walking experience, running her own company there. Tom, you have your experience in sales, and now you're bringing this to your father's company that's been around for years. And I'm curious if there's any particular sales tactics you've learned in your previous career that have been really applicable here at Master Chimney Sweepers, and what other tradespeople may want to know about.
That's a good question. I mean, time kills all deals. Creating urgency for customers to make a decision, and those are probably the two biggest things. It's like, I have to talk to my significant other. It's like, okay, well, when are you going to talk to them? When can I call you back? Or not even saying when, just saying, can I call you back this week? But the biggest thing at the end of the day, you can do all those things. But we have a guy that's been here, Harvey. He's turning 80, and he's still making 100 calls. This guy's unbelievable. I mean, he will make 130 dials in 2 hours and talk to 15 people, and he'll make 4 or 5 sales.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, he's unbelievable. And he learned ServiceTitan, and yeah, like
I taught him.
You
but
taught him?
yeah, well, it was a joint effort,
I'm
but.
a client.
But what makes him so effective is that he just asks for the business. I mean, he says, would you like to set up an appointment? Can I set up a time for you? And just that's it. I mean, you can tweak all these little things, but if you're not asking for the business at the end of the job, then you're not going to get it. So that's really it. I mean, that's I learned that you can throw all these other things you want at your sale process to try to make it better, but if you're not asking for the business, then none of that other stuff matters.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry. I'm just blown away. Harvey, 80 years old, makes 130 dials in 2 hours, closes four or
Yeah,
five deals. Wow.
yeah.
Is he one of your older telemarketers? And I mean older as in from the past
I
when you
think
had that
he's
big
been
telemarketer
20.
pool.
I think he's 20 years, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
so 2020, he came, or 20. I'm sorry, like 2000. It's 2023.
2000?
It's like
Yeah, 20.
2000.
Yeah, he's 2000. He's a long time.
Yeah,
He was a school teacher before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he never knew that he had this skill. But we also have Susan, who's 34 years, who works from home remotely, and she's another telemarketing savant as well.
Hmm.
Um, and well, Harvey only works part time, so he does about $250,000 in business. But you know, Susan does probably $500,000 in business. And we have another guy, Ed, too. So selling chimneys at
Dang.
$429 a pop, you can do the math.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's so cool. So it sounds like I know we're totally, by the way, again, little side note to the listeners, we're now kind of going in a different direction, but I like the direction that we're going in. So it sounds like outbound is really popular for you guys still doing that outbound marketing efforts. Are there any other channels that you really rely on right now? Because I know you guys service 225 towns since the last time we spoke. That's a really big service area.
Direct mail is a big thing that we do. That's a very powerful tool. Uh, and Google, of course, is a great tool. Google AdWords and that kind of thing. Best Picks is pretty good. But really, you can't. It's a seasonal business. So what are you going to do from January to September? If you don't have an outbound program, you're going to have to diversify, which most chimney sweeps do. They diversify into the masonry business, and they
Mm-hmm.
become masons, or they become gutter cleaners. I mean, they most of them become chimney rebuilders and masons, and so that's what
Got
they
it.
do, and that's what keeps them busy. And maybe they get involved in some wood stove installation or things like that. Um, but really, most of the chimney sweeps are diversified into the masonry business. So we're actually started getting in the masonry business about 10 years ago, and maybe 15. Um, and we just but it's not the core of our business. It's probably, I don't even know if it's 10% of our business right now. So we really do, we educate the consumer that it's an annual event cleaning your chimney, and not just
Mm-hmm.
the wood stove, but the one for the heating system. The
Mm.
gas and oil and hot water heater are vented in the chimney. And if there's any obstruction or any deterioration that causes an obstruction, it creates a problem in the house. So educating the consumer about the heating system passageway is really, you know, the key. And we also give them discounts in the slow season, which helps us to keep busy. So, there you go.
Interesting.
And then that creates
Yeah.
urgency, right? Because it's like, oh well, I can call you back in a month, but it'll be $50 more or $100 more. So that helps us to make sales as well.
I just want to take a moment to remind everyone listening that this podcast is free. I did hear from your CSM, who was the one who recommended you guys for this podcast, that you guys are very well known in town for your bright yellow postcards. Can you tell me about those?
Well, he probably, I didn't hear about that anyway.
I think
Yeah,
because of the direct mail piece of component to
right. They were
yeah,
trying to get the direct mail piece,
right.
but yeah, we've been direct mailing. We have a hundred and actually about 30,000 people in our database. So, and some of these people date back to 1977, uh,
Wow.
and
130,000.
130.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, we're famous for these yellow postcards, and we send them 3 to 4 times a year to people, and I'll even meet friends and say the name of my company. I said, "Are you that sends that yellow postcard?" And
Oh, that's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah, and so it's been amazingly effective. I mean, we always wonder about its effectiveness as we spend $30,000 or $40,000 at a pop sending them. But then by the end of the 1 month expiration period or 6 weeks, whatever it is, you look back and it generated a ton of business. So I don't know whether the cards are ever going to go away. Maybe not in my lifetime. I think I've proven to these guys that they're effective. I think, they were kind of wondering why we're spending 100,000 plus a year in direct mail, and but it generates a lot of business, and
Mm-hmm.
so and we didn't. We tried to change the color at one point, but we immediately went back to the yellow, and so some of our competitors tried to match it, but I don't think they could. They didn't keep up with the commitment of
Well,
every year.
direct mail is such a commitment. I actually had a great episode a few episodes before yours, which was with Guy Fasciano from MSI, and he talked all about direct mail being just a long-term play.
Mm.
And what I'm guessing is if you've been doing these yellow postcards for a while, you've got that brand recognition. Like I bet you people in your neighborhood, they go through their mail, they see that yellow postcard, they're like, "Oh shit, my chimney!
No, they
Oh
probably tossed
crap,
it in
my
the
chimney!"
trash.
They're like, "No, no,
No,
like oh crap, my chimney."
yeah.
Um,
Well, if 1% respond, I'm happy. Sometimes it gets maybe it's 2 or 3%. I mean, I used to track it a little bit, but it's not a lot. But
yeah.
it's still a lot. I mean, if 130 people responded, I guess that's 1%.
Yeah.
But I think a lot more than 130 respond. I think we're, maybe the previous customer at certain times of year is almost 10% of a response. I don't know.
Sure.
But we
Maybe
get
5 to 10, 5 to 10. So You know,
We get people from, I just talked to a customer earlier this week that called in and said she got a mailer, and we include the date of the last carbon monoxide reading, and hers was 1994. But we get people that go all the way back to the 80s, and
you
she,
get a card.
I've got a card, I guess, for people that are going to watch this on the video, but I can try to get it here. So this is what it looks like, right?
Ooh, yellow postcard is in
Yeah,
on
and
the YouTube video right now.
the date's right there. So, hypothetical date. But anyway, so she's been at the house for 10 years, and she's probably gotten 30 or 40 cards and just decided to call. And, so you get a lot of those, just like you said, brand recognition and awareness and brand resonance, as we used to call it in the digital marketing world. Yeah, it's really, really funny. Always getting those people that have just seeing them come for years and finally decided to call because of it.
You wore them down. But,
Yeah.
this kind of ties in, I think, to what Bill was saying before about the importance of education, about like how your chimney actually works. Because I mean, so you guys are in the Northeast. I'm from the Northeast as well. I've never lived in a home that has a chimney, but if I purchased one that had a chimney, I wouldn't know even what to start thinking about it. Like I would be like totally lost. And I know education is so big for you guys.
That card, as a matter of fact, today we just worked on the next card that's going out next week, and it was a team effort. Lydia, Tom, Laura, and myself, and we realized that lately the demand has been hot water heaters. For some reason, hot water heaters cause a lot of problems because they don't draft very well, so they get shut down a lot. So the gas company gets a reading, or the fire department gets a reading of high carbon monoxide in the house, and they shut it down, and they tell you to get a chimney sweep out there. And a lot of people don't realize that the hot water heater is venting into their chimney. And a lot of times they've upgraded to a power vent or a sidewall vent where you don't need the furnace goes out the side, but they left the hot water heater in the chimneys. We call it an orphan hot water heater, and it doesn't draft because it's too small of a diameter to go up this big chimney flue. And so that's why it has all these problems. So they create a lot of problems. So that's the highlight of this mailer is the question mark where the raccoon used to be is your chimney vented? Is your hot water heater vented into your chimney?
Yeah.
And we all worked on the wording, and we changed the wording in the back, and so there's a little paragraph in the back that's an educational paragraph. And it's just a very short 2 or 3 sentences. And we used to have this year this time we changed. We used to have highest ratings on Angie's List, and this time we said we got rid of Angie's List and we said 5-star Google reviews. 5, and so
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, Angie, but
It's okay.
so
And I actually have a really funny story, and I
Please.
know we're rambling on this subject, but
No, I love it.
back in the early '90s, my dad sent out a mailer that said, "Is there a killer in your basement?" Because furnaces and to this day vent into your chimney, and if they get blocked up, carbon monoxide comes back into the house, and unfortunately, people have died as a consequence of that. And so he sent out this mailer to 100,000 people saying, "Is there a killer in your basement?" in big block letters on this little yellow card. And my mother got phone calls from our friends saying, "Renee, is there a killer in my basement? Like I got this card from Master Chimney Sweepers." And I was 6 years old at the time or whatever, so I don't really remember the repercussions. But I'm still here to this day. Like, Bill, is there a killer in your basement? And really, really funny. But I'm sure it was very effective. I mean, I'm sure it generated a lot of business.
we never forgot it.
Well, it's
but it definitely was a one-hit wonder. That was it. It never went out again. I got a lot of crap for that. So yeah.
I mean, what's the phrase? No press is bad press, or something like that. But I mean, it certainly was memorable. Here we are in summer of 2023 talking about it.
Right.
But I mean, it's powerful. It's a powerful message. Like so much of what the trades does is protect the safety of society, right? all elements of it. And so I think that educational part is so good. Maybe a little heavy handed in that instance, but hey, it was the 90s.
Yeah.
You actually alluded to something else I want to get to real quick, because Bill, when we were talking about the direct mail piece, you're like, I think I've convinced the kids now that it's worth it, that we should keep doing it. Tell me, what has it been like now that Bill, now that Tom and Lydia have joined the business, and I'm assuming they're contributing, they're giving their ideas. Like, how do you guys collaborate? What's that system like?
It's pretty cool, actually. I mean, they're so much better at the computer than I am, and they were really worried because I've been taking most of the summer off, and they started to get worried. They said, when you come back, you're going to remember anything about this new ServiceTitan software. I'm happy to say today I wrote an order. So
Amazing.
I almost did it all by myself, and I think there was just one little trick that I might have done, but no, they're so unbelievable with the computer, and Tom can do so many things with the database. The way he formulates lists for our telemarketing team to call, and we decide when to call certain people. Like how often do we call someone? They're supposed to do it every year, so they get their annual call. But then if they don't do it then, maybe it's the summer. They didn't feel like doing it in the summer. It was hot. It was 90 degrees. Do we call them again in September or October or November? When do we make that call? And so there's ways we can formulate those lists of, we have a way with the software to track, and Tom does this better than anybody does. So he makes these lists for people, and we devise territories to make it so that they're fair and they rotate through the territories. And Lydia does an incredible job of on the Google analytics and staying with reviews and understanding how the reviews work and how Google works and understanding how difficult it is. When they first came in and tried to look at my Google program, I was like, well, look, these people are supposed to be doing it for me. I couldn't tell you what's going on. You can check it out and see if you can do any better. And they checked it out. They really can't do much better. They did a little bit better, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still incredibly frustrating. Why aren't we showing up? How come
Mm-hmm.
this guy shows up? How come that guy shows up? Why aren't we showing up? Why are these companies that aren't even certified showing up and we're not showing up? I mean, why are they? What's up with that? So, the fact of the matter is, watching what your reviews are is really Lydia's the watchdog, and she watches all the reviews and gets back to me with feedback on I don't that this customer is not happy. You need to do something. So you need to whatever it is, and so I'll be like, just tell her we'll figure it out, and we'll call her back once we figure it. A person in Rockport, a customer couldn't get it done today on a dryer vent, which we are starting to do dryer vents. Um, but we couldn't book them till October. We weren't gonna, she's like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And so I said, "Look, I'll have to look at the schedules when I get in, and see what I can figure out." So tell her to just hold on for a second. We'll figure it out. So working to understanding the customer's needs is, really, really, she's tremendous at that. Um, and she's also really good at working with other employees in the company. She does a great job with, you know, um, mitigating, things that are kind of boiling over. Working with people is, it's a fine line to keep everybody happy, right? And
Yeah, for
you're
sure.
always going to have a little complaint about something or somebody, and so it's, she's a very great diplomat on that, and she does a great job. I would say she's not only customer relations, but she's also
employee
employee
relations.
relations
Yeah,
as
she wears
well.
a lot.
So she does a really good job at that, and no, I feel really lucky that these guys have come in, and we, by the way, we had Randy, who's a 35-year veteran who worked for me sweeping chimneys from do the math. I don't even know how long ago that was, in the 90s. And Laura's been maybe, I don't know, 8 years or 10 years. So I mean, before Tom and Lydia came, they would run the company in the spring and summer, which I really tended to do a lot of hobbies, and so they were, so they're really a good team. So Tom and Lyd come in and complement them, and they all
That's
work.
great.
The four of them all work together, and there's unity, and everyone is trying to work as a team. And when I show up, I usually throw a wrench in the works, and then
Chaos.
they kick me out. They tell me to get out. Um, and
So
then
it's been good.
I'll be back in the fall though to really, get the ship really rocking and rolling. So
For sure.
yeah,
I mean, I have to ask because it sounds like you've stepped away from the business at
in the spring
various
and summer.
points. Yeah, right. What should listeners be aware of if they're also thinking about passing their business on to either the next generation, the next family generation, or to new owners? Like, what were some things that you did, Bill, that enabled you to step away?
Well, I actually haven't stepped away any more than I had for the last 20 years.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a seasonal business. So I did make it so that I could not, play golf and sailing in the, you know, in the spring and summer, and take, and even in the wintertime, I didn't have to work that. I mean, I'm always working, whether I'm here or not. My
Sure.
mind is always going. So, I mean, I'm thinking about a safety thing I talked to Tom about today that, I was thinking about, we have a safety meeting every Friday. I think we should talk about, you know, somebody that's on the ground helping someone that's on the roof should have a hard hat. And I was talking about, so I'm always thinking, I'm always really working. But as far as, stepping away, we're still, I don't, I'll be stepping away very, very gradually. And because I'm still, interested in the business and still vibrant about it. And, but in the fall, I'm here and I'll be, knocking on people's doors in the office. And we'll be, we'll have another rocking year because that's when I mean, it's almost 50% of our sales come in those 3 months, those 6 weeks.
3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like that generates most of your profits in this business are generated in that 8 week period. And
so it's so important.
if you don't have the ship tuned up and running, so I'm kind of sneaking in a little bit more, right now. I'll probably be sneaking in a lot in August, and just to tune things up and make sure that everything's running good, so we can go in. So I think the thing that Tom and Lit are seeing is how I do that and what I do and the way I do things and the way I handle employees. And I think it's going to be, we always said it was a 3 to 5 year period, probably, to really feel comfortable with what you're going to do. And it may be a little longer than that. But because they know there's a lot to it. I think the main thing there's a lot to is how to manage people and how to run and have people be loyal to you and you loyal to them. And it goes
Hmm.
both ways. We're working together in this universe to try to, have some peace and harmony and have a nice life and be able to get home with our kids and, and what, they have to live as well as we do. So, you have
Of
to be really,
course.
really aware of that. And I think those are things that Tom and Lid are learning as we go along here, um,
Yeah,
knowing everyone's names, not just the employees, but their kids and their
of
grandchildren.
course.
So,
Yeah. Creating that culture that people
yeah,
want to get
it's a
to work,
family.
right?
It's a total family. Yeah.
Tom, what would you like to add to your dad's answer, as you're kind of coming up and you're taking on more of a role here? Like, what has that process been like, learning the way he is doing things, suggesting new ways of doing things from your older experience? Like, what's that been like? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think so. One good thing is that he's definitely. So I guess speaking to all the people that are families that are in a similar situation is he's definitely given us a lot of autonomy, both directly and indirectly, in that letting us make decisions about, like, for example, opening up a specific cohort of customers to call. It's kind of I don't have to ask for permission. I can just do it just based on what we're seeing in the market, or sending out an email blast to customers. It's like really kind of letting us run with our own initiatives. And Lydia, last year, merged. We got a new phone system in place, and she kind of led the charge without really much oversight from my dad, just kind of trusts us to make the right decision. And, we're going to screw up, obviously, and, kind of learn from those screw ups. And then there are other things that, he has, we really want to get his opinion, and we value it on his opinion about. So that's been great. And then, so I think there's just been, we just have worked really well together over the last couple of years, but the autonomy has definitely been a really great way to kind of learn how the business runs, because you learn through your mistakes, and
Yep.
learn just through things that you've done well, and you just kind of start repeating them. And it really is. You look at the numbers, and it's been pretty consistent for the last several years. So you just kind of keep repeating the same activities that you've been doing, and just start to improve upon them bit by bit. But you definitely got to have patience, because it's not going to happen overnight. And that's one thing that I've learned recently, is that you gotta have patience with how this whole process plays out. So that's the other thing I would say.
For sure. You guys have been so generous with your time. I want to pick your brain about one last thing, because I know you're passionate about it. Tell me a bit about the state of the chimney sweep industry today, and where do you see it heading in the future? Bill, I would love for you to go first.
Okay, good. Well, it's really interesting, because, and again, that's what fascinates me too, is to be able to adapt to the changing environment. And of course, you've got this lobby group that's trying to eliminate fossil fuels, right? So what's that going to do to the chimney sweep industry? All I can hope is that they never do. Certainly in my lifetime, if they do in Tom's, we'll have to figure out, a plan for them. But because right now the gas is being vented out the side a lot more. People are converting their fireplaces to gas fireplaces. So we're going to have to learn a little bit more about these gas fireplaces, and that's one of the areas that we need to get into. We need to get into the dryer vent, which some of our people have gotten into. And the masonry business will always be there. And that is going to be, I think that's going to be a growing business. And it's going to be a very slow growing business, but it's really great opportunity for a lot of guys to come to work for us. So I think it's just fascinating to create an environment here that gets the chimney sweeps and their employees excited about their growth and their opportunities. We have a new thing that we're looking at in September for restoring fireplace chimneys, and we think it's a great product, and we're going to run it by a bunch of the chimney sweeps, and they're going to come and teach us how to use it, and that could be a game changer too. So we're always going to be we've got to be keeping on our toes. There's another opportunity in my lifetime. Chimney caps was first, then the chimney relining of the furnace flues came. We don't really reline fireplaces. That's a whole controversial thing that I would need a whole podcast for. So we, and now we're just, the masonry business has been the next really thing that we're making it kind of a building block. A lot of the caps are on there, but they are blowing off now. They're not our caps though; they're other caps. So they need to be resecured now. I mean, drones may come in and be a big factor in our business. Drone inspections. So there's a lot of really interesting opportunities, and they need to be. It's going to be up to these guys to really. That's where they're going to make a difference in their lives. Because I've created a great life for myself and them, and but they're going to need to create a future for themselves. So they're going to have to be watching these opportunities where these developments are going to come, so that they can, have a successful tenure with this company, and maybe it can go to another generation. Maybe it'll be a third generation that comes in.
Maybe. And when you say drones, are you talking about like actual robot drones that are
Yeah.
flying above?
Yeah, we have a couple of them right now, but that our guys have. But they, we've got to go through your insurance company. We haven't done that yet. We tried to, but it was like so complicated. We just said,
Well, I know there's like permits. And I know that you can't fly drones near airports.
that's
I know
exactly
that's a big
right.
thing.
It's like it's unbelievable. So we're not really doing it, but we got to work through that. We got to figure that out. And not only that, we got to get paid for it. I mean,
course.
we've been doing it. Some of our guys have been just drone. They have two. We have two guys with drones. I think one of them actually he crashed his, but not on the job. But I don't know whether he got another one. But it goes to show you, really how do they. But one of the guys is really good with his drone, and every now and then we see it at the office, and he flies it around. And but yeah, there's a huge place for that. There's a huge, when homes change ownership, there's a whole that can be handled way better than it's being handled right now. There's a real improvement that we could make in that area too, because a lot of ownership changing all the time, and those are great customers when the homes change. And drones should be a big part of that, but we really should get paid a lot more for a chimney inspection on a real estate transaction. So there's all sorts of opportunities, and and how much can we charge? How
Sure.
high is the price going to go? I started at $35. Now our base fee is $529. With a discount, it brings it down to $489. There's always a discount, so the full price is $529. But if somebody called with an emergency, my chimney's blocked, it's $529. But if a previous customer gets $130 off, or a new customer would be $40, so it brings it down to $489. So, but we started at $35. Think of all those price hikes. There's going to be $1,000 in the next 20 years to get your chimney cleaned. I don't know.
$9.99.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to check in. We'll have to check in the next decade. We'll
I don't know.
see.
So they've got a lot of things decisions they're going to have to make. Who's going to be the price hike decision maker? Because I've been the price hike decision maker for this many years. That's a big thing. That takes a lot of guts to keep your prices going up. It is the most important part of success in any business. Is you probably have people that work for you, and you go, they give you the bill, and they go, sure, but you could charge a lot more, right? Does anyone complain about your prices? Well, I always say if 25% of the people aren't complaining, you're not high enough. So that wasn't for me. I got them for somebody else.
Sure. That's a bit of a tidbit right there.
About that.
We have been going for almost an hour, guys, and I just want to say thank you. I know. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story. I really enjoyed hearing about it, and I can't wait to see where Master Chimney Sweepers is going to be in, the next couple of years, especially with Henry on the phones, just like going through that ServiceTitan like it's no problem. Are there any final words you would like to say for the end of the podcast?
Tom, do you have to my dissertation? Do you have my dissertation on the future?
No,
have you anything else you want to add to that? Did that seem like a pretty good dissertation? I don't know if that's the right word, but
I would use the word dissertation if I was making that joke too. So I think you're fine.
Yeah. Thank you. I just always have to check my vocabulary.
You know what? Me too, Bill. Me too. So you and I are alike that way.
Right.
Tom, any final words?
Thank you. An hour. Unbelievable.
No, I think we've probably given you too much content for today. But it's been great. It's been nice to just talk about the business, and hopefully some people can take a few little of these nuggets away and apply it to their own businesses, But yeah, if we're still running the podcast in 10 years, I'd love to sit back down and, we could run it
and
back.
See where we go. Yeah, I know. That'd be really fun. All right. I'll put it on my to-do list. I'll see you guys in 2033.
A 2033 calendar invite, perhaps. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Great job, Jackie. Great job. Nice to meet you again. See you again. Speak to you.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.